Hello students, in today's video I will explain you one of the most important concepts when it comes to safety of your king and attacking the opponent's king. I'm talking about the concept of the hook. Let's see how it's used in practice. The position in front of you is a very instructive one even if it's not realistic. What is going on here? Well, white is overwhelmingly leading the development. Tactics stem from better positions, and so naturally white is looking to get one soon. In order for white to capitalize on their lead in development, they look for a way to open up the position, which means exchanging the pawns, which would increase the amount of interactions between white's pieces and black's pieces. After all, we're not hitting opponent's queen or king with any of our pieces right now, and this would change if the pawns will get exchanged in the center. Now, white in this position is looking to open up the position, and that is much easier to do when there is so-called hook. Simply said, it's an advanced pawn of opponents which can be used by us to open up files. White can in this position play the move d5, after which files get opened and the chances of a tactic highly increases to white's favor. For example, let's say if black takes, white is taking on d5, bam, our queen starts looking at opponent's king, and then when the position opens up enough, if we did everything correctly, there will be a cherry on the top, a tactic waiting for us to capitalize on. A lot of times we might miss the right moment to open up the position, and something like this could occur where we just continue developing forever. We miss the right opportunity to open up the position, and the whole army might be developed, and yet there is no tactic to win material or develop the initiative. For instance, if white plays knight to b5, black would play knight a6 and follow this up with castling and bishop d7, and that's why the lead in development is considered a dynamic advantage. It can vanish if we don't capitalize on that early enough. Let's move to a more realistic position. This position is a one that occurred in one of my students' games. White has played g4 with a clear intention of a kingside attack. Since black has king on that side of the board, they prefer to keep the g and h files closed because they don't want opponent's rooks to start aiming at our king. One of the worst possible moves was played in this position, which is h6, absolutely horrendous. This is creating a hook for white, as now they could be playing g5. And so because they hit the pawn and the knight, inevitably, whatever black does, there will be a file that is opened. Please enjoy the show how white won the game. Black took on g5, queen takes g5. Suddenly, there is an open file and then there are mating nets occurring. Black played knight h7, white dropped back with the queen. We had c5 now for black. However, it's a bit too late right now for counterplay, as white is developing these mating threats very soon. There is g6 played. For now, there is no sacrifice due to the pin. White played bishop h6, rook to e8, and there's a fantastic sacrifice by white because of their overwhelming activity on the king side and us having a weak king over there. Tactics start occurring, and white won with the checkmate. Instead, if they knew about the hook and when not to create one, black should have reacted with a counterplay in the center as a reaction to the flank attack. And if black played a move like knight to c6 or a move like c5, there is no attack for white against our king because king is simply out of reach. Let's say they play a move like g5, we could drop anywhere and we're still better. I like the move knight to h5, we hit the pawn with the queen, as well as stopping the h pawn from moving. In general, when opponent is overextending with the pawns on the side, that's when the knights are not so dim on the rim. They have a function of looking at the newly created weak squares that are usually created by overextension of the pawns, as well as it serves the defensive function as it blocks one of the pawn from moving forward. In this position, white could play a move like h4, and black is simply creating counterplay in the center, which completely stops white chances of an attack. Here we could follow it up with something like e5, and our king is completely safe. Let's take a look at one more example. This was a position from my student's game. My student was black here. We have a situation where kings castled the opposite side, and one of the most natural plans in such situations, if queens are on the board, is to pawn storm opponent's king in order to open up the files next to it so that the player would be able to use the rooks to attack opponent's king. And in such situations, we avoid touching the pawns as much as possible on the side where we have a king, because we don't want to give any hooks to our opponent. Here, white should just probably finish the development and continue with the pushing the h pawn with the hope of opening up the h or g files. But instead, we have a move like a3. So this move now is giving black a hook later when we get the pawn to b4. Black starts with a6, white goes h4, and black immediately goes with b5 and already threatens to open up the b file when it will be much easier for black to launch an attack against the white's king. We had b4, and this simply doesn't help. Do not push the pawns on the side where you have the king unless you are very sure the position is getting completely closed. Here, black would play a5 because that is just another hook. White took on b5 and everything just got opened. Even though it looks tactical, black was never at risk of dropping anything. Bishop is also attacking a3, and now there is no hope for the white's king. It's simply completely opened. Both rooks are coming into the game, and very soon black was able to win the queen and the game is over. This is very, very important lesson for you to learn. I hope this was instructive. Consider hiring me as your personal online chess coach. My contacts are on the right. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.